In thousands of messages, extraterrestrial civilizations, or ETCs, warn about global cataclysms beginning soon, and 3 preliminary cataclysms just before them. ETCs show the epicenter of the first pre-cataclysm, which results in loss of entire humanity. Global cataclysms will never stop, and will only gain strength. The only way for salvation is the transition of humanity to another safe level of material world, through united consciousness. ETCs inform that in order to transfer through the levels of parallel worlds, body transformation is required. The Earth civilization can make the transition only to the highest level of the material world. This transition requires not body transformation, but body destruction. This destruction can be made only by laser, as a result of the united consciousness action. ETCs warn that Earth civilization, due to insufficient consciousness perfection, has very weak action of the united consciousness. So, for laser appearance, a huge power of the united consciousness action is required. ETCs present the required high homogeneous cellular structure of the civilization united cell with resonance activity. Synchronous unification of civilization's consciousness will cause the laser beam which will remove our bodies from the level with global cataclysms. Simultaneously, we will resurrect at the highest level of the material world without cataclysms. This way, humanity will escape global cataclysms and prolong life in the new cycle of the correction, with 2 categories, hell and paradise. Everyone will be responsible for the actions they make today. This is the scenario of our transition, the only way for salvation. Civilization's transition will not affect anyone's private property. ETC pictograms give instruction for change of consciousness mode from individual to the united. ETCs inform that the latest time to make the transition is immediately after the first pre-cataclysm. After the second pre-cataclysm, the transition will be impossible. It will not be enough people to start up the mechanism of the transition. Civilization has to be pre-informed. ETCs insist widespread of information about upcoming cataclysms, and the transition is the only one way to prolong life of Earth's humanity. ETCs warn that humanity has to make the decision about the transition as quickly as possible, because after the first pre-cataclysm, it will be very difficult to do so. This is related with disconnecting of phone and internet communications as a result of a super powerful disaster. Non-informed civilizations have no chance to make the transition in time and to prolong life. Edgar Cayce about the only way for salvation. Edgar Cayce, the famous American prophet who predicted global cataclysms beginning and foretold that hope of humanity will come from Russia. Edgar Cayce predicted that the salvation of mankind from global cataclysms will be based on the principles of association and fraternity. It will not be communism, but everyone will be responsible for each other. This means unification of consciousness of the entire civilization. This information was transferred by ETCs in all of their messages, and Russian scientists decoded their pictograms. Each pictogram repeats the same ETC instruction for humanity's salvation. ETCs warn that the only way for the transition of another safe level of the material world through the united consciousness. This principle of the united consciousness, ETCs constantly use for teleportation flights through millions of light years in the universe. Composition of the Dictionary of ETC Symbols. Russian scientists decoded hundreds of ETC pictograms scattered all over the world, and composed the Dictionary of ETC Symbols of Consciousness for over 250 symbols. Now everyone can read and understand messages of ETCs. During millennia, ETCs created by unknown to humanity information technology sent many pictogram objects with the same symbolic meaning. These object pictograms formed the System of Information Transmission, or SIT, which covered the whole world. Among them are Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, Chavin de Huanta, Chachapoyas, Cusco, the Nazca Lines, Chichen Itza, the Great Pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx, Moai of Eastern Island, Mexican Pyramids the Moon and the Sun, and many others. Global cataclysms and the 3 preliminary cataclysms coming soon. ETCs warned about beginning of global cataclysms soon as a result of critical Earth magnetic field decreasing. Shortly before global cataclysms, 3 preliminary cataclysms of incredible power will happen. 3 pre-disaster as 3 warning signals before the start of a global cataclysm. ETCs inform that global cataclysms will never stop and will only become stronger because the purpose of global cataclysms is the destruction of our planet. So it is impossible to hide in bunkers which are popular today and are sold in many countries and wait until the end. Nobody will be saved in big ships or submarines, as is shown in movie 2012. The purpose of global cataclysms is the destruction of our planet. ETCs confirm that global cataclysms will transfer our Earth from the group of planets with present development of consciousness to the group of planets with past development of consciousness, such as Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. In many millions of years, our flourished Earth will become a desert planet just like Mars, almost without atmosphere and water. Scientists consider that long ago Mars had a dense atmosphere and water. The present stage of planet Mars destruction is accompanied by terrible dust storms, the strongest in the solar system. Holy Scriptures noted that global cataclysms will turn mountains on Earth into heaps of sand. ETCs warned that individually nobody will be saved, and the great civilization of Earth will be destroyed by global cataclysms. In every message, ETCs warn that only through unification of consciousness we have to make the transition to the highest level of the material world, and prolong our life on the safe level in the new cycle of correction. Critical decreasing of Earth's magnetic field. Cause of global cataclysms beginning is presented by Earth magnetic field symbols, rhombuses, and rectangular shaped figures in a chessboard order. Ancient complex of Chan Chan in Peru informs that life of mankind totally depends of condition of Earth's magnetic field. Moreover, complex of Chan Chan confirms that humanity is like fish in the net of Earth's magnetic field. Epicenter of the first pre-cataclysm, an extraordinary event. ETC pictograms warn about the first pre-cataclysm coming soon, as an extraordinary event in the physical world, which surpasses all natural powers known to humanity. Edgar Cayce predicted that in a few minutes the cataclysm will change Earth's surface beyond recognition, and waters of Mexican Gulf will be joined with the Great Lakes. Information about great power of pre-cataclysms is transmitted through acoustic effect in several ancient complexes. Thus, in Chavin de Huantar, unusual uncontrolled power of pre-cataclysms presents a terrible roar of water in underground labyrinths, in periods of melting glaciers at spring solstice. Mountain echo strengthens an already strong acoustic effect. Idol Lanson is set in an underground gallery in complete darkness. Only twice a year, in the autumn and spring solstice, in the period of melting glaciers, the idol is illuminated by a ray of sunlight. The sun ray illuminating the idol Lanson represents a laser beam caused by unified consciousness of humanity. Sunbeam falls on Lanson through a hole in the ceiling, depicts the principle of the united consciousness. The Indian oracle indicates the only way of salvation for humanity through the united consciousness of civilization. Thus, Lanson points out that only the united consciousness of humanity will cause a laser beam which removes a body from level of global cataclysms and will take the transition to the highest level of the material world. Machu Picchu. In the Machu Picchu, the roar of the mountain river Urubamba in the narrow valley at the base of the mountain, which is located at the top of Machu Picchu, blocks even cries and demonstrates the global cataclysms. Located high in the clouds, Machu Picchu represents a city of our future at the highest level of the material world, without disasters. 2 levels. The level of the river and high mountains located on the top of Machu Picchu, showing 2 levels of the material world. Level of the river is the level of crystal structures, where we live now, and where will soon begin global cataclysms. High mountains represent the highest level of the material world, where we have to make the transition and continue our lives. Other complexes of Peru, Chan Chan, Pachacamac, Machu Picchu, complexes of Mexico, crop circles, and others also inform about global cataclysms. In Chan Chan, ETCs show the epicenter of the first pre-cataclysm. ETCs inform that the first pre-cataclysm will occur in the Pacific Ocean from outside Peru in the area of the Brazilian magnetic anomaly. It will start up at the intersection of Humboldt Current, which runs from south to north, and El Niño, which runs parallel to the equator. According to prophecy of Edgar Cayce, during several minutes the waters of the Mexican Gulf will join with Great Lakes. In Chan Chan complexes, ETCs confirm that the first pre-cataclysm will occur in the ocean, through marine motifs, by images of fishes, currents, waves, and marine animals. Here are some more examples of marine motifs in crop circles. In the crop circle dated 30th of July in Berkshire, England, ETCs represent the direction of the first pre-cataclysm action and human losses. It is shown that it will pass through east coast of the North America. The road is the ocean that separates 2 circles, representing 2 continents, South and North America. The intensity of human losses on both continents, North America and South America, are shown by small circles arranged in parallel lines. In the complex of 3 great pyramids are presented compass symbols by 3 small pyramids near Cheops and Menkaure, pyramids placed in perpendicular directions, north-south, west-east. In this picture, they are marked in red. Compass symbols are presented also in the crop circle dated 18th of July 2007 in Wiltshire, England, by 2 perpendicular quadrilaterals. Comparison of 2 pictograms, Great Pyramids of Giza and the crop circle mentioned above, is presented in decoding of crop circle dated June 2nd of 2010 in Liddington Castle, Wiltshire, England. It allows determining the epicenter of 3 pre-cataclysms. The biggest pyramid, in this crop circle corresponds to the Great Pyramid of Cheops. In this crop circle dug, the biggest pyramid represents loss of people in the first pre-cataclysm. Dug is located in the southwest. Collection of data presented by different ETC pictograms allow determining the epicenter of first pre-cataclysm in the Pacific Ocean near coast of Peru. Two smaller ruined pyramids in crop circle from July 18th represent losses of people in second and third pre-cataclysms. ETCs inform that the only way to save humanity is the transition to the safe, highest level of the material world through united consciousness of civilization. Humanity will prolong life in a new cycle, the cycle of correction. Our transition, ETCs explain, is a flight and present by images of different birds in Chan Chan. The images in Nazca lines of hummingbirds, flamingo, and pelican all point to our transition. Our transition is presented by Birdman in Tula, Mexico, and Birdman of Easter Island. In crop circles, our transition is presented by dragonfly, butterfly, swallows, and other birds. Serpent is ETC symbol of global cataclysms. In the ETC symbols of consciousness, serpent is the symbol of global cataclysms. Serpent is presented in many complexes of the system of information transmission of ETCs. Incredible demonstration of coming global cataclysms' danger for humanity is presented by shadow effect at the temple of Kukulkan in the complex of Chichen Itza. From individual consciousness to the united at the eve of global cataclysm's beginning. The temple of Kukulkan is 9-stepped pyramid 24 meters high, with wide stairs on either side. Shadow effect on the spring and autumn equinoxes, March 20th and September 21st, make up the movement of serpent's body 37 meters long, creeping from the top to his own head with open throat carved at the base of the stairs. Thousands of people come all over the world to see this event, presented by feathered serpent at the bottom of El Castillo staircase. Shadow effect forms zigzag line, which represents the principle of the united consciousness formation, necessary for the transition to the highest level of the material world without cataclysms. ETCs inform that it is the only way for prolongation of life in coming global cataclysms. In the complex Chichen Itza, warning about destruction of humanity retaining an individual mode of consciousness by global cataclysms is presented by stone statue Chak Mul and two serpents from both sides behind a man. Stone statue Chak Mul is a symbol of helpless humanity at the global cataclysms which call for change of consciousness mode from individual to the united. So, the complex Chichen Itza presents a terrible picture, showing helpless humanity left face to face with global cataclysms of incredible power, flattening the Earth's surface for the destruction of mountains and leveling the surface of the planet. Humanity is presented with this future if a decision about consciousness unification for the transition to the next cycle of life is not made. In the pictogram dated June 20th of 2011 from Wiltshire, England, same information is also presented by serpents as global cataclysms and zigzag, the united consciousness of civilization. A cross passing through a small brain area of individual cell in the center confirm information that life of humanity with individual consciousness will be interrupted by global cataclysms. In the complex of Chichen Itza, all phases of civilization's transition to the highest level of the material world as the only way for salvation from global cataclysms are presented. ETCs confirm that the mechanism of the transition is very simple. Humanity has to unite consciousness with one common goal: to remove our body from the level of global cataclysms. The laser beam, caused by civilization's united consciousness action, will remove our bodies from the level of global cataclysms, the level of crystal structures, also known as LCS. Simultaneously, we will arise on the safe, highest level of the material world without cataclysms with a new holographic body. We will prolong our life in the cycle of the correction, and everyone will be responsible for the action he makes. So, do good today. During our transition, we will make a body transformation. This mechanism of a body transformation ETCs constantly use for teleportation flights between galaxies through millions of light years. Thus, the process of the united consciousness formation of Earth's civilization for the transition is represented by 1,000 columns in the temple of 1,000 warriors. Today's population of Earth is 7 billion people. Each column depicts a brain area of an individual cell of a human being. The highest level of the material world is shown by the top level in the Temple of Warriors. The resurrected humanity on the highest level is shown by many columns at the top of the temple placed on the territory of a half-moon. Symbol of a half-moon represents the shift of the brain area at the united consciousness formation. Columns standing upright on the staircase show the humanity's way from the level of crystal structure to the highest level of the material world for the transition and prolongation of life. The unification of civilization's consciousness is presented in Mexican complex Tula by images of columns similar to that at Chichen Itza. The resurrected humanity on the highest level of the material world is shown by human figures Atlantids, 5 meters high, on the top of the main temple of Quetzalcoatl. In the complex of Tula, ETCs inform that humanity can be destroyed by global cataclysms. This information is presented by Serpent Snake eating a man. Global cataclysms were presented also by pillars presenting feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl, which were located at the entrance. Now pillars with the serpent images are missing. So, ETCs show humanity the only way of salvation from the seemingly hopeless situation is the transition to the highest level of the material world.